That's the one I'm going to be looking out for most of all.
Right, well, we actually have game 1 ready straight away. Let's take a look at their picks and bans. We've got Priest, Paladin, and Rogue on Jambre's side. Mysterious ban is Druid. We've got Paladin, Druid, and Priest on Mysterious' side with a Rogue ban. Paladin played on both sides. That's not particularly common in this meta, is it?
It hasn't been, but this is actually kind of something I've been looking out for. With some of the other tournaments I've been casting so far, one of the decks that I've really been liking most of all is a kind of top-heavy Murloc Paladin. You can still get the aggressive starts, you've still got the full suite of Murlocs, but you've also got Bone Mare, Tyrion, Tarim, the Curator at the top of the deck. It feels like it's such a powerful curve deck through all stages of the game that against Priest and Druid you can stand a real shot, which is why I think Jambre will have been banning away the Rogue here.
Right, well, these guys certainly think the Paladin is the way to go. But speaking of bans, Priest actually being allowed to play on both sides. I'm kind of surprised about that. Not as surprised as I would have been a little while ago, but at the moment bans do seem to be spread pretty evenly between Druid, Rogue, and Priest. Rogue is the one that's banned the least, although that is, I guess, the aggressive deck. And if you're trying to play a controller, an anti-control lineup, then yeah, that's the ban that you go for. I
mean, from Jambre, I'm completely unsurprised to see the Rogue in his tweet that he sent out just earlier this week, where he got, I can't remember exactly what rank, but a very, very high rank with Murloc Paladin. He says it's favoured against everything other than Rogue. And given that that is his pet deck, I'm very unsurprised to see the Rogue going out, even and especially just because it's a super powerful deck.
Look at this, Derek. We have a game of Hearthstone on our hands already. Let's jump in to number 1. That's what we're here for, you know?
Oh.
You've been living here, you should know this. Let's jump in to the Druid versus Rogue.
Yeah, so from Jambre here, the most interesting thing is, will he throw away the Swashbuckler? We're seeing this more and more, and it seems so unintuitive because ever since patches came out and started being put in Rogue decks, you felt like you just kept the Swashbuckler every time. It's a great one-drop, but because of the pet potential to be just blown out by Galactic Crawler, and because Jambre already has the Firefly, I love that toss of the Swashbuckler there.
Yeah, it's Jambre's Rogue deck is going to be all about the tempo now, and Swashbuckler on turn 1 just isn't that necessary anymore. Sure, you get out patches as well, but later on, that can be much more impactful. Maybe after a Prince Keleseth with a South Sea Captain, something like that. So I like this a lot. Speaking of tempo, yeah, okay. 6 damage on the board already, let's go.
I mean, yeah, kind of tempo. Also just going for the aggression. This is really what you want to be going for against the Druid, because you want to go tall minions, and you want to keep it not too wide so you can't be destroyed by spreading Plague. And as the Rogue, in the mid to late stages of the game, obviously you can get a nice powerful board without playing many minions, as we see with all 3 of the remaining hands in Jambre, remaining minions in Jambre's hand. But going nice and tall with the Cold Blood here, just to start getting the damage in, I like a lot.
Yeah, I have to say I really like the Cold Blood though as well, because as you say, you sink the damage in, and also Jambre's already baited out Spellbreaker. Oh my goodness, I'm losing my words tonight. So that's something that Mysterious is not going to be able to use later when Bone Mares come down, or after this Cobalt Scalebanes come down, or something like that. There is now a Galactic Crawler, which can be used on the 1/1 patches. Whether Mysterious wants to save that and try and use it on a South Sea Captain, I don't know. I quite like putting it down now for the tempo.
Yeah, so do I. I think the Doomsayer with no guarantee to go off at the moment, especially because there's still the possibility for coin into Vilespine Slayer. Just get yourself ahead on the board now, set up for a powerful turn over the next couple of turns. And as long as you're, you know, in a position where Ultimate Infestation can kill off a valuable minion, I think the Druid is looking to be in a fantastic spot here, because that is the main thing you're trying to do as the Druid. You're just ramping up to get to Ultimate Infestation as quickly as possible, because it's not only a powerful play on the turn you play it, but it makes the next turn very probably enough to just win the game on the spot.
Druid's a really weird deck in that respect, because it's sort of a fatigue deck, but it's also sort of a very aggressive tempo deck when you get towards the mid-game. But in this matchup, yeah, the longer the game goes on, typically you'd think the more favor the Druid gets, and that is down to the ramping up of the mana and the ramping up of the Jade Golems. That Ultimate Infestation, as you said, that's going to help a lot.
And so here for Jambre, do you prefer taking the immediate play that you can go for right now and sacrificing a lot of power over the next couple of turns? Or would you have just slammed down that Scalebane and try and get ahead while you can?
And the Scalebane was so tempting there, right? He definitely will have spent quite a bit of time considering it. I still hadn't made my mind up when he went and did that, and you hadn't finished asking the question, so I was kind of saved by the bell right there.
So if you're listening, Jambre, slow it down, right, mate? You know, we're only human.
But this does work out very nicely. He can drop the Scalebane. Now the Firefly's still alive, and then the following turn, he can curve into Bone Mare. And if he does get that Bone Mare to go off on turn 7, that can make a huge difference in any matchup with this deck.
I think overall, it's way more important to get it down now. Sorry, on the turn afterwards, where you can curve out for powerful plays over the next few turns. You'd be because if you save the coin there and don't go for the Scalebane on turn 4, you're getting a strong turn now if you play it, and then you're getting like 2 weak turns afterwards. Where if you just wait a turn, powerful plays, Bone Mare into Bone Mare, that's exactly what you want to be doing.
It's a tricky one though, because typically you want the weak turns later, you want to get the strong turns early, you want to get that tempo down, but I think here, just because of the way everything lines up, it makes a lot of sense. Now, in Mysterious's hand, we're now seeing Spreading Plague and Doomsayer. Now this can be a vital turnaround later on in the game if there's no Valspine Slayer present. Yeah,
that's the thing. It's often thought of as the Frost Nova and Doomsayer for Druid. It's a fair bit more expensive at this point, but as long as it gets the job done, you're usually happy, because every follow-up you can go for, even just playing 1 or 2 Jade cards, will probably win you the game, as long as you're not too far behind.
I'd pay 8 mana for a Frost Nova Doomsayer. I mean, I'd pay it for Blizzard Doomsayer, so I guess really...
Yeah. Well, I think that's probably a reason why these players are sitting in the player chairs and you're here casting with me. You used to be able to play 4 mana for Frost Nova Doomsayer.
That's
that is
true.
Not a Hearthstone I would like to be playing, if I'm honest.
5 for Cone of Cold Doomsayer.
Oh.
That's a play. Anywho, Jambre doesn't seem to have a way easily of clearing this Doomsayer. In fact, I don't think he has any way of clearing this Doomsayer.
So Leroy does not quite get it done.
Leroy's 1 damage short.
Argent Commander doesn't get it done. You're just going to have to be throwing off the board here. So there's no way you can set up for death rattles to happen either, because you don't have any adaptations or anything like that. So you just throw the turn here, and you know it's going into Ultimate Infestation because they ramped with a Nourish on one of the earlier turns. So it's obviously it's terrible because there's an Ultimate Infestation, but you don't have a 5/5 on the board, which you run a fair few of in your deck. So it's not the worst situation you could find yourself in.
I just think this is completely disastrous for Jambre, because we're on turn 6, he's got the coin in hand. This was his Bone Mare turn. This was his big, I'm in charge of the board now turn. And Mysterious not only has taken that away from him, but now, he drops this 5/5, he draws half of his deck. This, to me, looks like the turning point of the game.
I mean, I think he's going to go with Fandral and Behemoth on this turn, actually.
Works too.
Because like I was saying, that takes away the only downside of going for Ultimate Infestation here, in you're not killing off a Scalebane or a Bone Mare. And against the Rogue, you kind of really want to be doing that. From Jambre, we've seen slow plays over the last few turns, so I think there's a decent chance he's got at least 1 Bone Mare here.
The other thing for Mysterious is that Jambre has just shown he doesn't have a way of dealing with the Doomsayer behind a Taunt.
Yeah.
So there's a pretty solid chance he doesn't have a way of dealing with Fandral behind a Taunt.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a gambit in that respect also. Let's see what Jambre does decide to do here. It's not... His hand isn't full of options like it was earlier. It's very, very heavy. And most of these heavy cards require him to already have something else to be effective in any way. Where's that Valspine Slayer?
So you can't go for Leroy coin into one of your 3-drops, which is the main thing, which I think is why he's going for Bone Mare here, because it just allows for more options on the following turn. It sucks because you're going into Ultimate Infestation.
This game is over. This game is so over.
I mean, what could Jambre have done? He had to just say, I know my opponent's got Ultimate Infestation in hand, but I have to just pray that I'm wrong, and in some crazy universe, he went for the Nourish for ramp and didn't have Ultimate Infestation in hand as the last card. And obviously it hasn't worked out. He is going to be losing this game here. And that's just what happens. Like I said at the start, it's a race to Ultimate Infestation. If you can get that down before the Bone Mare comes down, you're probably going to win. And it just worked out exactly like that. Fantastic for Mysterious.
I really think in these Rogue matchups, the Bone Mare turn is completely vital, especially in the Rogue Mirror. Like getting that Bone Mare on turn 7 can just win you the game, because there's so many stats hitting the board so early. It's the new Dr. 7 in many respects.
Yeah, although, it's obviously not on the same power level as the old Dr. 7. It's kind of as good as we got at this point.
I just think it was very well maneuvered by Mysterious. Not only did he put down the Taunt and the Doomsayer on that turn going into the Bone Mare turn, but he also did it going into his own Ultimate Infestation, or, his 10 mana play anyway, Fandral plus the Behemoth. So very well played by Mysterious. I think that did win him the game. Yeah,
I do want to say, though, as well, I think Jambre played that game masterfully himself, throwing away the Swashbuckler at the start, trying to give himself the highest chance of, you know, going nice and wide on the board, getting an aggressive start with the Cold Blood as he went for, but with the Spellbreaker coming down, the Nourish into the Crab, there was just too many answers. And here is a deck I was really hoping we'd see today in the Dragon Priest.
We were talking about this earlier in a group chat on Skype about Dragon Priest and how it seems to be seeing quite a bit of play. We can't see yet if it's Highlander or whether it's just regular Dragon Priest.
Have you seen any Highlander Dragon Priest? Oh no, there have been a few
recently. There have been some,
yeah. Yeah.
But I do think the non-Highlander version is more common, especially as we're seeing Cobalt Scalebane here.
Yeah.
That indicates a more aggressive deck. Now I'm excited to see this because, okay, well there's your answer. I'm excited to see this because historically Dragon Priest has been one of my favorite decks. Back in the Ungoro meta, I spent a full weekend getting a very, very high rank with it because I saw it in HGG.
We all remember.
And then it never came up and I never got to cast it. So I'm very happy that it's come up here.
Well, now it's here in a completely different form, sadly.
Well, it's I can still draw upon it, okay?
Okay, there's still dragons there.
There's still dragons, there's still Lyra.
Your dragon impression is still very much valid. This is where you do your dragon impression. Oh, well, there we go. Clearly a scaled nightmare, just...
Oh, okay. Meanwhile, Mysterious is doing his very own dragon impression, but with Murlocs.
That made absolutely no sense.
It's a big board. Jambre is definitely on the defensive here. He needs to get to that turn 6. He needs to get that Dragonfire Potion. But
yeah. I mean, it's kind of in the position where if it was the old school Murloc War Leader, he wouldn't even be that vulnerable to Dragonfire Potion after the Seer comes down.
Man, no, you're right.
But thankfully for his sake, the potion will still be getting the job done if he's not dead in the meanwhile.
That's the problem. Mysterious just needs to pick up something like a second War Leader or a big beast to buff all his Murlocs, and then he's sorted. In fact, he doesn't even need that. He's got so much damage, he just wins next turn.
So here for Jambre, it's hoping you find some of your defense options. Tar Creeper is kind of the best you can get, but the weird thing is that in this Dragon Priest, it runs so few spells to kind of similarly in the vein of Silence Priest, you can guarantee yourself getting the Divine Spirit or Inner Fire when you go for the Shadow Visions, because you want to get that much more consistently. So the number of spells that are running the deck is actually really low.
What is this?
He realizes that was just over. The most insanely fast game of Hearthstone I think I've seen in a long while. We hardly even got to talk about the game. And it's over. Mysterious goes 2-0 up.
What just happened?
Hearthstone happened.
That was one of the fastest games of Hearthstone I've ever seen. Probably the fastest game I've ever casted.
Yep.
Over by turn 4, just concede straight up. But yeah, there was nothing Jambre could do, right? Mysterious just had lethal. Tar Creeper wasn't enough to prevent that damage. Mysterious had even more damage in his hand with the Rallying Blade. He had the Redemption down.
Yep.
So even if Jambre did deal with one of those minions, it was coming back to life.
And that's the thing. It's kind of a nice reminder almost of simpler times that the Murloc Paladin, when it gets the perfect curve, it still wins basically 100% of the time. You just can't defeat starts like that.
This is going to be a quick night. Especially if Mysterious goes ahead and wins the next game.
Yeah.
Right, come on now. I want to see a comeback from Jambre. We do not like to see completely one-sided games of Hearthstone like this. Jambre getting beaten by the Paladin. That can't feel good.
I mean, at the very least, it's not going to be quite so quick of a loss if he does end up losing it. And he's going in with what I would say is a pretty favorable matchup. When I was first thinking about this matchup, before I actually got to see some games with the Dragon Priest, I was just assuming, you know, it's going to struggle against the Priest because in the Ungoro meta, Dragon Priest was kind of slow. It didn't always get the powerful mid-game curves that you see a lot more now with Scalebane. But yeah, like I said, now that it's got all these dragons that can come down on curve, Dragonfire Potion just doesn't really get the job done. So you can very easily see the Kazakus Priest just being run over.
That's a good point. Dragonfire Potion is heavily relied on by the Highlander Priest, especially as you can grab it with the Shadow Visions as well. Oh, there you go. 2 in Jambre's hand. It's going to be much better in his deck because there aren't as many dragons in Mysterious's.
At the same time, both those draws are pretty much the exact opposite of what you're looking for. I very much doubt that Jambre is going to be behind on board in this game. Or I suppose I should say he's not going to be behind on board if he expects to win. If he is behind on board against the Kazakus Priest, 99% of the time, with any deck, those are losing games.
Does Mysterious know yet that this is Dragon Priest? He did get it right, but I don't know if any dragons are revealed last game.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
So he really had to stop and think about that. But the other two cards that are so rarely played, if Raza was one of the options, then I think Mysterious would have straight up got that wrong.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, actually. That's a good point. And that's kind of why I like Curious Glimmerroot, doing its function of making sure that players have done their homework, kept up with the meta, not just the decks that they've chosen to play. Yeah,
it's definitely one of the most skill-heavy cards in Hearthstone, though it doesn't have much of an impact.
Yeah.
When a player gets it wrong, it really does show.
It does indeed. It's usually because they just forget it's not Discover, I would say. That seems to be the main downside. At least it is when Lorinda does it.
Yeah, I've been there too.
I'm not going to admit to it, but I'm a caster. Obviously, I have.
Now, Dragon Operative in Mysterious's hand is a very pretty 5/6, but is Mysterious actually going to be able to proc it? I'm struggling to think of any other dragons in the deck.
There's no other dragons in the deck, I don't think. I mean, you just take that as a 5/6 that's probably going to bait out a copy of Shadow of Death. I know that in Mitsuhide's list, which is kind of the most popular variant of Dragon Priest at the moment, there's only one Shadow Word Death, so that's a very valuable resource. Basically, the only way to kill off the Draconid Operative out of hand if you aren't already ahead on the board.
And it won't be killed by Dragonfire Potion.
Yes, yeah, obviously, yeah. I mean, even if it wasn't a dragon, it wouldn't be killed off by Dragonfire Potion, so you're double correct.
Now, you were saying earlier that Jambre hasn't drawn the cards that he's wanted for the early game. Now that's really starting to show. Yeah, okay, he's got Cleric, he's got Talon Priest, but he's not been able to put down that Twilight Drake yet. He's going to be able to drop Operative next turn, but that's in turn 5. Really, the Dragon Priest wants to have a much more aggressive start than this, especially in this matchup. Yeah,
they do, but the thing is, with the Dragon Priest, the early options they run aren't actually... There's not that many of them, and they're not that powerful. Now that Twilight Whelp's gone, the Agent's gone as well from the lineup, just all the powerful early Dragon cards, you can't really curve out that aggressively. It's around turns 5 and 6, 4, 5, 6 you're expecting to do that with Scalebanes, Operatives, and the Twilight Drakes that you're really hoping to pull ahead. But Doomsayer is going to be absolutely devastating in this matchup because if it's anything like, as I was quoting, the Mitsuhide list, which is the most popular version, no Shadow Word Pains, no Silence, anything like that, just to give you the highest chance of getting Divine Spirit and Inner Fire exactly when you need it.
Yeah, I really like Mysterious's timing with Doomsayer. This is the second game where I've been able to say that. But going into turn 5, when you know your opponent has Operative, you know he probably has Cobalt Scalebane, just blocking such a vital turn. And yeah, Anduin ready to go in hand. That's going to be vital at clearing away all these 5-attack minions.
It really is. 5 mana has just kind of become the powerhouse slot in so many decks just because, as you said, of the Cobalt Scalebane. It's even more bolstered in the Dragon Priest with the Draconid Operative as well. But now on this turn, you've got the option for a 5-mana card with a Power Word Shield, which is what I'm looking at most of all. You're going into turn 7, so the Scalebane and the Operative can't be killed off by the Battle Cry of Anduin, which is probably why I'd go for that now. Sorry, and then maybe follow up with the Twilight Drake slightly afterwards if you see Anduin on curve.
Now, neither of these players are up for elimination this game, or up for qualification.
Yep.
But it's very important that these guys do qualify. They're both very well-known UK players. Both have been in the finals of the ESL Premiership before. And Jambre has been saying, I'm not messing around this season. I'm going to be a finalist this time. And Mysterious, I think we've seen in the finals every season for the last however many years.
I mean, this is the thing. I would actually argue that in terms of ESL Premiership accomplishments, these players are about on par with each other. Jambre obviously having won it, but Mysterious, the consistency that he has showed throughout every different meta throughout the years in the ESL Premiership is just as admirable, I would say. And showing no signs of slowing either, just doing really well with this meta. Because the thing is, he brought Murloc Paladin and just got a stomp victory there. But he chose to bring it. He knows that that is a possibility with Murloc Paladin. Sometimes you just win.
Yeah. Organize Cell Priest coming down immediately there. Gonna just ping away that Operative. I like this a lot.
It's just so nice in Priest seeing a non-Highlander variant of the deck. Just 2 Power Word Shields. Isn't that just a nice sight?
Well, I mean, just the double Radiant Elemental.
Yeah.
The double Shadow Visions, and with Lyra, you can, I mean...
I missed that so much.
Back in the Ungaro meta, where there were Miracle Priests and that kind of deck, there's no reason these decks shouldn't still be good. I mean, there's no reason Silence Priest should be a bad deck at the moment. Like, these tools, you mentioned Divine Spirit in a Fire, that's still a strong combination of cards. I actually got beaten by that combo being played by a big priest yesterday. Someone did it on their obsidian statue, and I thought I had the game, but nope, I was just dead.
And so here, going with the Shadow Reaper Anduin, one of the more difficult decisions when you don't have Raza already on, in play and the hero power at 0, because if you've already played Raza, there's basically never any decision. You slam it down as early as possible. But there's quite a lot of targets you want to hit with the Battle Cry here. Obviously, the Scalebanes and the Operatives, as well as whatever is discovered off the Netherspite Historian, which is very likely to be another Operative, is the most likely option to get, and probably the best option the majority of the time.
Another Twilight Drake is a pretty good pick against other priests. The 4-attack goodness there. Kind of weak to silence, sure, there's that. Pint-Sized Potion, Shadow and Horror also will clear away most of the board that Jambre can possibly make.
I mean, that's why you go for 2, isn't it? If you are weak to silence, there's only 1 in a Highlander deck, so the second one will be surviving it. So we couldn't see the options there, but I imagine that probably was the pick, as there is still quite a lot of pretty underwhelming dragons.
Now, Mysterious has a lot that he needs to somehow clear up.
Yep.
And not many ways of doing it. He could probably ping the Organize Soul Priest twice this turn. Actually, no, he can't. There's no way the mana quite lines up, is there?
Well,
oh,
with
no,
the Priest of the Feast, yeah. You can fill in with 8 mana with any of your 4-drop options here, but the thing is, that's not really what you want to be doing. You just want to be drawing cards here, because if you're expending all your resources on 2 mana hero powers, it's basically just, you know, delaying the inevitable. Eventually, with the amount of cards in Jambre's hand and the amount of value in the Dragon Priest deck in total, you will find yourself being overwhelmed. But obviously, that's not an option. You've got to play with the hands you're dealt. Yeah. So I like the way it's done from Mysterious.
What is going on? Divine Spirit in the hand. Shadow Vision's picking up Inner Fire. Power Word Shield. Okay.
24 damage, 25 available on this turn.
Is he just going for it?
Of course he's just going for it. You've seen the Anduin. It has to be exactly death or silence to stop you. Silence would already have been played, most likely to kill off the Drake. I love this, just going for it here.
Mysterious's eyes. He looks like he was just dead immediately. Because I think when you see that, you just expect they have the damage to kill you.
Yeah.
Luckily for him, he's still alive and kicking with 4 health. He needs to sacrifice the Arcanite if he wants to heal at all, but there's the silence right on cue. So Shadow of Death plus silence plus the Arcanite trade will deal with 3 out of these 4 minions. He can play Shadow of Horror if he really needs to deal with the 4th. Problem is, he's not going to be healing himself up anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, on this turn, you're probably looking to play Priest of the Feast at the same time. But the thing is, there's basically...
You can't because of the Arcanite, that's the problem.
Oh, like right, of course.
You have to actually trade it in first, which
yep.
I guess is actually a consideration.
Right, you are. And
well, no, because you have to put the Arcanite into the Radiant Elemental, so it's very messy.
Yeah, I guess you're saving the heal for one of the following turns, because the thing is, there's basically no burst in the Dragon Priest deck. It's not like the Kazakus Priest where you've got Holy Smite and the Mind Blast as well. Like I was saying, you run as few spells as possible to condense your deck down to exactly as we saw there. The Inner Fire was, I would imagine, almost a 100% chance to get it.
Yeah. So we're just clearing the entire board here.
Yeah. Or at least, you know, even if there's 3 damage on the board, you're probably okay with that, because the buff from Scalebane just doesn't... you know, it's not immediate, so you'd still be alright for the moment.
This is fine though. He pinged the Radiant straight away at the beginning. He'll have been working that out to begin with, whether he had to trade into that or not. But pinging that at the start means he's trading into the other one, and yeah. Okay, the board is clear. Mysterious, if you can keep Jambre off the board, then you do have a chance to win this. But second Divine Spirit picked up. It's not going to be easy. Yep.
It has to be pretty much exactly Potion of the Pint-Sized Potion here, maybe Raza off the top. But the thing is, even then, you can only fit in, what, 2 hero powers after you play Raza. Might be enough to take out one of the minions in combination with the Organized Soul Priest, which is still doing a good amount of work. But it's kind of still annoying, because you have to kill it off, as you said, before you can get in any of the heal with the Priest of the Feast. Just not looking like a good spot at all for Mysterious.
He needs to get some of that card draw you were talking about earlier. I don't think we've seen Acolyte of Pain. I don't think we've seen Northshire Cleric from him anyway. It's not nice.
Yeah, nice play here from Jambre. I was at first hesitant because I thought it meant he wouldn't be able to get out the Cobalt Scalebane, but just getting the highest amount of damage on board. You've seen Anduin, you've seen Death. Even the Pint-Sized Potion Shadow Word Horror does not clear off the board here, and because you've now seen Silence as well, I think there's pretty much nothing to be done to clear off this Priest of the Feast. I think this is a locked victory.
You're right. The the Scalebane there was a great counter to the pint-size horror. I imagine that's what Jambre will have been thinking about. And I can't conceive of any way that that Mysterious would clear this board, so...
He can survive on this turn by getting himself up to 7 by attacking in here, playing the Priest of the Feast, and just throwing down Shadow Word Horror, literally just for 3 health. The worst healing, well, I suppose a greater healing potion, but a lesser healing potion.
Much worse than Binding here, even.
Yeah, Shadow Word Garbage, I believe is what it is.
Is it? Okay.
And now with the Glimmeroo, Mind Blast, Holy Smite, maybe Holy Nova if that's in the deck, but it's obviously unlikely. There are chances for lethal on the spot here, but still, it's looking unlikely to close out the game. We'd probably even see from Jambre a trade into the Priest of the Feast.
Oh, that'll do.
There you go.
I'm surprised that took him so long to do the discover there. Obviously, we didn't see the options.
Yeah.
But Highlander Priest always wants Holy Smite, and that's just lethal. So Jambre jumping at the chance, taking his first win of the series. We're back on, folks. This is back on a more even playing field one more time.
Yeah, got a series of Hearthstone on our hands all of a sudden, whereas before it was looking just like an absolute curb stomp from Mysterious. Nice to see coming back from Jambre. And as for the rest of his decks, he's still got the Rogue to take a victory with, which, you know, it's a fairly even matchup against the Priest. If you can get the powerful late game or a super aggressive early game and the answers aren't found at various points throughout the game, you're looking in a good spot.
The question is, can he beat Highlander Priest twice?
It's just, I mean, this is a high roll meta. Every single deck has a perfect combination of cards it can get when, if played on curve, it basically just doesn't lose.
And that's the thing Jambre is going to have to be thinking about. All Mysterious needs, really, is a Kazakus on 4, Raza on 5, and Anduin on 8 game, and he just
Not
wins.
a tall order.
That's not. Well, you know, it happens, right?
It
Even 2 out of those 3, even just the Kazakus Raza or the Raza Anduin, would be probably good enough to put Jambre at bay. Kazakus is actually one of the most vital cards in the matchup. It's funny because it doesn't always feel vital, but the effect that the card has, just the fact that against control, you draw cards, you put yourself in a better position later. Against aggro, you clear the board. Maybe you even go for 1 mana, clear the board, deal 2 damage to everything and 3 damage to one thing. It's got so much utility.
Yeah, just the fact that you don't even have to think about it. And
we have pumpkins.
Mysterious. Oh, it's the new board. I haven't got to see it yet. Very cool.
The pumpkins are clickable as well.
They're clickable pumpkins. Wow. It's almost like real life.
Almost like real life. Can you not click on your pumpkins?
I mean, you could, I guess. I don't know if it would do much. So yeah, Jambre here going for the Swashbuckler opening now, but unfortunately for him, his very mysterious opponent turns out to be a Galacticrawler gamer.
He is a Galacticrawler gamer. Is it worth it? It's got to be worth it, right?
Well, actually, no, that's a good point. I laugh, but not necessarily. There's no ability for Captain on the following turn, obviously, and it does kind of limit what you're doing on the following turn, especially because Shadow Word Pain is unlikely to find a useful target.
Yeah, but realistically, Mysterious did just coin out a Totem Golem without the overload and also killed one of his opponent's minions at the same time, so... When you look at it that way...
Yeah, and there's obviously the Shadow Visions if nothing else comes along. It's not particularly important doing it as quickly as possible, but yeah, just finding the shield here is looking great for Mysterious. He's got... sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying that was a very quick snap pick from Mysterious, the shield. Did you like that?
Yeah. I think the way that he is surviving this early game is on the back of his crab here. It hasn't got a particularly big back, but it's big enough for Anduin, it would seem.
It's getting bigger.
It's getting bigger. Yeah, it's true. Shadow Word back. Power Word back. I'm going to stop with Priest dad jokes at this point.
Okay. Holding on to that, the pain there. Just not necessary to use it. I like it a lot. Unfortunately for him, as we can see Jambre's hand, none of these minions are susceptible to the Shadow Word Pain. Oh
my days. Again for Jambre, getting a just way too top-heavy hand. And this, you know, it can happen, but this is just an absolute repeat of the Druid game. We're seeing Galacticrawler coming down super early and eating up a Pirate, 2 Bone Mares in hand at this point already.
Prophet Velen. Just chilling there.
Oh, yeah.
Not going to do anything this game. Maybe a 4 damage backstab at some point.
Oh, juicy.
Yeah, I mean, Jambre is just smiling. He knows how ridiculous this has been. Just the fact that turn 4 pass for a rogue. Now he's picked up Prince Keleseth, but it's sort of too late because he wants to spend his mana on the big minions that have been clogging up his hand for the last few turns.
The weird thing is, though, against Priest, very often you feel like you've dealt with everything the Rogue has to offer for the moment because of the fact, you know, that you just deal so effectively with their early game, as we saw here. But Prince Keleseth really allows for any minion you top deck to be a real threat going on later into the game. And so for Jambre, very, very often you're not going to be shadow stepping Keleseth at this point, and I think it's still probably not quite worth it. But the thing is, because you're losing to Raza and Anduin on curve anyway, maybe it's worth just expecting this game to go super long, and maybe you can win through sheer minion value. It's definitely something to consider here.
Yeah, I mean, Mysterious's board is just so... just the fact that he's ahead is crazy. The Highlander Priest is out-tempoing the Tempo Rogue because of that Galactic Crawler and the missed turn from Jambre, which Mysterious has really capitalized on. Well,
I mean, like you said, the fact that he just played Ironforge Totem Golem on turn 1 was just way too powerful for Jambre to even deal with. And you can still see the legacy of that at this point, the fact that he's still ahead, playing minions on curve every step along the way, just ridiculous.
Now, Prince Valspine Slayer looks like the way Jambre is going to go about this. Now, as you said, Shadow Step doesn't look like Prince is the target, but maybe Valspine Slayer is. Maybe Bone Mare is later on. No, it is going to be the Valspine. No, it is going to be Prince.
Going to be the Prince. I think he's going for the game plan I was thinking of, which, to be fair, you know, it sets you up for a guaranteed target with Bone Mare on the following turn. And like I was saying, he's just realized if Anduin comes down now, I lose 100% of the time anyway. It doesn't matter what I do here. So it's more important that I just pray that it goes on for the super long term, and you know, I start getting 6-7 Cairns, start getting Valspine Slayers that are 5-6s in their own right, like really powerful high-statted minions at every point along the way might be enough for Jambre.
I wonder which card is in this deck. Pretty obvious Cold Blood there. Going to now pain away the 3-4. Makes sense. Keeps Priest of the Feast alive. He can heal it up if he wants to. He could drop the Radiant Elemental and play Cold Blood and play Pain if he wants to.
And, you know, the Rogue obviously doesn't have any healing. The fact that Keleseth was Shadow Step back to hand and you've seen such slow single minion turns from your opponent probably means you're expecting to see Bone Mare coming down soon. So you can't necessarily hope for a guaranteed lethal on the following turn, sorry.
This is fine. He's got Silence in hand. He's balling.
I think this is looking to be Mysterious going up 2 series to 1 overall so far in the ESL Prem. What can Jambre do?
Well, okay, so he can clear away the Priest of the Feast. That does get rid of a lot of damage.
Yeah.
He can't play anything else with the commander, obviously apart from Keleseth, which is just so awkward. Jambre's curve has been horrible.
Yeah, I think because you're still a turn away from playing something in combination with the Bone Mare, yeah, you still keep it back in hand here just because you're under so much pressure from the Priest that you're probably going to be needing the Keleseth coming in, a guaranteed target for the Bone Mare no matter what you draw. But the thing is that like it's getting to the point where, you know, Jambre can be brought down to 4 health here, which means Mind Blast off the top at any point throughout this game closes out instantly. There is nothing that Jambre can do outside of Shaku or Swashbuckler minion off the top.
Yeah, so Jambre actually playing on the clock here against this Highlander Priest deck. Just got to remind you guys over and over again, this deck that you've seen savagely tempoing Jambre down is a Highlander.
It's Zoo Priest.
It's Zoo Priest. That's what it's doing today, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you saw in the Tespa series a bit earlier this week, one of the colleges was bringing what can only be described as Meme Priest, where it was actually Highlander Zoo Priest. They were playing powerful minions on curve with like Scalebane and Southsea Captain in the deck, and it was, you know, it was obviously garbage. Like, you're not bringing that to a proper tournament. I don't really know what they were thinking. But when you do get starts like this, you can kind of start to see their logic, as crazy as it is, because this is 1 damage off lethal.
Are we trading in the Acolyte to try and get lethal? I think we are.
Mysterious might. I don't know what we're doing.
All right, Derek.
Are you in this time, my friend? Yeah, just digging for the Mind Blast here, or even the the Holy Smite would close out the game at this point. Potion of Madness does it as well. Mysterious, by curving out with Kazakus Priest minions on curve, takes it out over Jambre, bringing himself 2-1 in the ESL Premiership so far.
Yeah, huge congratulations for Mysterious there. That was quite the dominant performance this series. and he does get one step closer to that spot in the finals, a spot which both of these players are really, really hoping